Hey, how you doing? It's Reg from Aver Reg Guy. We're going to do another flight today. This time I think what we'll do is we will go, let's pick up one of the moons of Mars and try to land on it. So we're going to use the same build that we did for the Venus landing. So let's go. I'm just going to bring up my blueprints, and I've got different probes here, so let's go with the Jovian probe. I think will be the one that'll work. Yeah. So technically I don't need the heat shield because of the fact that we're going to be landing on a moon, right? And the moon doesn't have atmosphere. So I'm going to get rid of the shield and these little pieces here just to lighten it up. Now, moons are kind of fun when you try to land on them because they have, the Earth's moon is relatively strong gravity compared to some of these ones that they have in the game here. So this is the same, like I say, the same lander that I've created here. It's multi-purpose. That's why like a parachute's not going to help me on this one either, but I'm not going to remove it. I'll just leave it as it is. I just don't want the heat shield, just to make it a little bit of a lighter payload. And same one that I've used multiple times. Same rocketry setup that I've got as well. So let's go with this. Actually, let's do staging. Okay, so first one we're going to add in is going to be turn on all of these rockets at the bottom here. Oops, made an oops there. Let's try that again. Turn on all the rockets. Second stage here is going to be to disconnect that lower part. Third stage is going to be separate off, whoops, these, ooh, I just noticed something, these sides. Fourth stage will be separate these ones and turn on the engine. Okay, because we're going to switch then from the larger thrusters to the space thruster. And I think on that same one, oops, we're going to disconnect, yeah, we're going to disconnect the fairing and turn on the thrusters. Okay, so that's good for the staging. And one thing I just noticed here is I've got these ones on this particular build in the wrong spot. And the reason they're in the wrong spot is if I eject that lower portion there, I'm dropping my rockets. So don't want to do that in this particular build. Oops. Okay, just moving those up. Okay. It says I have no heat shield. That is correct. And it's nice that they confirm. Okay, so what we're going to do, like I say, is we're going to standard takeoff, angle off to the right-hand side to get a nice orbit going, pick our Mars as our main target, and then we'll try to pick one of the moons as a subtopic as we're going. Okay, so throttles up and go. There we go. Wait till we get up to about 1,000 again. I like to give, like I say, the details on each of these things because sometimes people skip that, and I find that it took me a bit to sort of figure out the best way of doing things from just watching what somebody else is doing, especially the ones where they're not actually talking, it's just type. I found that to be a little bit bothersome, so I'm doing it this way. And plus it's just fun doing this. So getting ready, eject the lower guy. There we go. Let's see where we are. So I can go to 60. Again, the whole thing with this is I want to get the arch to basically indicate that if I stop fuel, we're going to be in space. And then we're going to go from there to try to get a good orbit. But at this point, I know I can go to 75 because that will get above. That get about now. So, and going to go even more. I don't need for it to get high. I don't need to waste the fuel to get into a high orbit. All I need to do is just get up there. Okay, let's watch. Get ready for the next staging. Okay, so disconnect the last two, or those first two there, and see where we are. So we are in space. So I'm just going to accelerate around because I know I've got a ton of thrust with this system. So I'm going to accelerate around until we get to close to the highest point. It's a heavy rocket. Go, go. There we go. Takes a little bit to get it turned, but that's okay. Okay, just about there. Okay, and go. So the plan now is just to push the thrust to generate that orbit, and there it goes. Like I say, a lot of thrust on this one. Out of fuel, let's stage, and off we go. That looks pretty. Okay, so we are in orbit. So we want to find Mars. So I just pinch to get out to where I can navigate to Mars. We can see the transfer window is pretty close. So I'm not going to need to zoom ahead too far here. But let's just go. I know I'm in orbit, so I'm just going to accelerate along here, do a little time travel. Okay, and again, I just watch for where this transfer window and the Earth here change to escape. And that is escape and encounter, I think it is, or something like that. There we go. So escape, transfer window. So let's now we go back into the Earth and find out where is my transfer window. So my transfer window is right there. I'm just going to change this to a dot. I find that tail is annoying. Okay, so right there. And where am I? I am right over here. Okay, so I need to just zip around. Look at all the stuff floating around. Some of those are coming in. They're ones that I've ejected. Okay, let's point the rocket where we're going. There we go. I need some elevator music. There we go. Let's see where we are. So when we get to the transfer window, I'm just going to go full throttle and just give her. And that should get us going. And then we're going to watch for when we want to adjust for the moons and Mars in particular. Basically, we just need to get in the general vicinity of Mars, then we can worry about the rest. Okay, give her. So we've got this engine, which is a high efficiency engine for in space. You'll notice that if you watch the SpaceX, as they take off, it's got a nice narrow column of flame, but as it gets up into the vacuum, it goes everywhere. Not efficient. That's why we stage. That's why they stage, and they go from, you know, flying with the initial first stage rockets. They have those guys turn around and land again, and then they switch to the second stage, because the second stage engine is a vacuum engine. It's meant for flying in space. That's what this one is too. This is a vacuum engine that we're working with. Okay. And it's coming along. I've sped up because at first it's a little bit slower, but once it gets going, then I'll back out. There it goes. As you can see, it starts picking up speed. Okay, so slow down my time here a little bit. Oh, we had a brief encounter that was being looked at with the moon there, but we shot past that. Okay. So again, we keep going with this now until the dotted line escapes. Or the dotted line disappears, sorry. So you got the escape happening there. Just keep zipping along here. And usually what I find is when the dotted line starts moving, as you can see it is on my screen now, I know I'm getting close. Of course, disappears, so I take the thrust right off, back out, and let's find Mars. There it is. And we should see our approach coming in. So we're going to bring it up. And there's our moons. So Phobos. Now, if we go slow with this, at some point you'll see it making a approach vector, and it's not going to matter too much at this point because of the fact that it's going to change as we get moving along. So let's just time travel to get there. Pick up our acceleration here. There's the escape. So it's actually taken a fair amount of time. If you think about how long it takes for Mars to get from one side of the sun to the other side, and it's pretty much doing a complete transverse there. Okay, so once we get into that circle, and when I zoom in, you'll see the circle stops moving, which is always nice to keep track of it easier. Okay, so I'm going to turn because I know I'm going to need to start slowing down. And this is where you got to decide how you want to do the approach. Some people will go for the moons and just dive straight at them, and then go reverse thrusters until you slow down enough so you don't just become a tent peg into it. And other people will try going in orbit. And orbit can be a little bit tough too, because they're, like I say, fairly low gravity. So it's a good thought experiment either way. So we're just getting a little bit closer. And I'm going to pass to the inside, because I think I'm going to try for Phobos. So right about here, I just want to check my thrust direction. I got a ton of fuel, so we should be good there. And again, I'm just going to bring myself into an orbit around Mars here. Okay, a little bit closer, and then we're going to fire the engines. There we go. Full throttle. Yep, full throttle. There. Now I'm going to go in here and just turn off, because sometimes I find with the thrusters is just little motions can really throw you around. We'll use them when we want to get down towards the planet or towards the moon, but sometimes with these maneuvers it can be a little bit more distracting. So we're already going at about 550 meters per second, so we're slowing ourselves down here. And it's slowly changing. You can see the path from my ship is slowly starting to turn, and eventually it'll become in orbit. There it is. So we are now in a high orbit, and if you watch those little flickers you'll see, that's where it's actually intersecting the moons. Now, of course, we're not going to be intersecting Phobos at this point because we're so far out, but we are crossing the line of the outer moon. And this is where you can switch to doing a approach vector to get to the various moons as well. So right now we're still pretty much on an approach vector for Mars. So let's get inside and see if we can connect up with okay. I'm just going to zip around to the other side. And then I think I'll actually save. Once I get in here, there we go. Spin around. We're doing the orbital dance here. Okay. Good enough. Let's see where we are. Okay. Let's bring in our orbit, and then I'll save it once I get close. Okay, we're close there. So let's create a quick save. I think that's how we spell it. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're going to be attempting to make a rendezvous with here. So I did a navigate to Phobos. You can see my transfer window is all the way around the other side. And when I start moving around to it, you see it pretty much follows me. Okay, so to actually get it to where I'm actually catching up with it is kind of a pain to because the transfer window currently is behind me. Getting there. Okay. Let's take a look at where we are here. So the question is, what do I need to do here? So I am currently on an orbit outside of it. So what I need to do is I need to slow down just a little bit, because there's the moon. So I'm going to slow down a little bit, which is going to bring my orbit in, okay, which should start to approach the moon. Okay, so if I start thrusting here, yeah. Yeah, it looked like we had it there for a second. Okay, so I think we've gone past it, so let's just, it's a bit of a touchy thing. So I'm just going to turn around, and I'm going to accelerate a little bit here. So you can see my orbit's getting a little bit larger now. Okay, we have a change that has happened now. So you can see my path has disappeared, and it says we will encounter over here. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. So I'm no longer thrusting, I'm just moving along. And you can see we are getting close. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn my thrusters back on, because it's probably all we're going to need. Because you can see right now our flight path is heading straight at it. So I'm going to adjust, and I'm just using the thrusters with this. You can see I've already got a probe on there. But I'm going to see if I can adjust this to the point that I can try to get into orbit around it. Right about there, let's say. This is fun. Okay, so let's go and see what happens here. Okay, so we are now scooting along the orbit here, and I'm going to try to see how we're doing for direction here. If I get the thrust, what's going to happen here? Because you can see we're coming in close, like real close there. So I'm going to do, basically what I'm doing is I'm doing my thrusters on the rocket. If we take a look, thrusting that way, thrusting that way, thrusting backwards, forwards, that sort of thing. So we're going to see if we can, by just working the thrusters here, get ourselves into a orbit. We're getting close. So what I'm doing is I'm using the one set of thrusters to push myself a little bit this way while I'm trying to slow myself down with the other set. Oh, we are so close. There we go. We have orbit. Yay! And look at my velocity. 9.1 meters per second. Okay, so let's get... You can see everything's slowly turning. I'm just doing a little bit of time trouble with no fuel going or anything. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get rid of this big guy. No, let's try not to do anything I don't want to do. There we go. Fuel transfer done. Disconnect. Okay. So, big guy. I'm just going to tell that to go away. I don't want it to tent peg into the planet, but there we go. It's gone. That's okay. Not worried about that. Resume game. This is the one I'm flying, because we weren't coming back. This is a probe. So I crashed the big one into it. That was completely intentional. Now, the thing you have to be careful here is when I do my thrusters just to try to change my direction I'm pointing, it affects everything. So I'm now just doing this. If you're watching what I'm doing here now, I'm just hitting thruster buttons. There we go. So we officially now are in orbit around Phobos. Okay. So I've got another one that's currently still parked there. There's one I landed before. And with that one, I just did a straight-on approach. This is the first attempt I did of trying to create an orbit here. So my orbit is at 8.3 meters per second. It is slow. Okay, so let's try to, shall we try to see if we can park somewhere beside this other one maybe. So let's see what our thrusters are doing here. Sometimes I like to actually see what I'm doing. There we go. There's downwards. And don't go too fast. Engines on. Where are we? Don't go away. I got my thrust going the wrong direction. That's why I'm trying to slow it down and come back down. Don't leave orbit. Okay, there we go. We're slowing down. Now we're going to start to come back down. There we go. Okay. Do a little bit of time travel here. So you can see my height's coming in. My velocity's pretty steady. There's the moon. There's my other one. You can see down on the other side there. Let's just turn off that thing. Don't want to come in too fast. But that's not really too much of a problem, right? We're landing on a very tiny rock. We're still coming. It's going to be on a bit of an angle. Look how light the gravity is there. I'm doing full throttle, pushing down here. We can do it. We can do it. Bet you we're going to end up right beside our other one. Stop. Don't hit it. Don't hit it. There we go. We're good. I could not have done this if I tried. Why are both rockets firing? Here we go. Down. Down you, and stay down. Okay. I'm going to switch to this one for a second and just tell him to go down. There we go. Land. Stop moving. Yay! The odds that I was able to do that is pretty slim, that I got them that close, and the fact that they sat there and bounced off each other is funny. So let's switch to this guy, turn off his thrusters. Just kind of fun. I enjoy this program. So if this was helpful, if it gave you ideas on how you can do this, please subscribe. I really appreciate it if you do, and definitely like it if you were entertained or did learn something from it, and let me know if you make an attempt to land on one of the moons, how you do as well. So I think this side, yeah. Hit the subscribe, and thank you very much. And I will see you guys again in the next video. I try to make these about 30 minutes each, so I'm 6 minutes over, but it was a success.